Hey guys, how's it going? So, we totally decided to do the Showdown event, even though it was against my better judgment. Now, this is how you're supposed to open up every game on this map. You're going to want to have 2 dogs, and then your MG right where I show you here, flanked by a missile trooper behind. And then you're going to alter your build based off what you see. So we see a Banshee, and we're going to assume he's going to make a cat ship because we see that in the bottom right. So I start making Talons because that's my best answer to cat ship. And this is basically going to be how you win these games. You need to protect your machine gun squad in order to make sure that you're not going to fall behind. If you ever lose your machine gun squad, you're very likely to lose the game because you're not going to be able to reestablish it. And the machine gun squad is going to cover the top pad, the entrance to it, and the bottom pad, which is really helpful. So we take that game pretty cleanly. We go on to this next game here. This is a classic example of why you should not build more than 4 units in the beginning. We don't really know what this guy's going to do here, but we make some dogs and we kind of just go back and forth. We try to charge here. My MG covers the top pad, which is supposed to do. And then I scout the cat ships. So as soon as I scout this cat ships, I know it's all right. We got to make a bunch of Talons and we got to defend here. If I did not have access to 2 Talons here, this would be an automatic loss for me. I might be able to like pull in my missile squad and then lose them, but because I'm able to fend these off, I accidentally pull up the emote list here. My base is nice and healthy. Probably could have fended it off with just a missile and a single Talon, but having the second Talon makes it a lot more manageable. I also could have ioned a little bit sooner. Going to this next game here. Same setup here, 2 dogs, MG, missiles behind, and we're going to see a ton of drone swarms. So I say, okay, I've already got my war factory open. I guess I'll make a pit bull to kind of contest these 3 drone swarms going out. So you kind of want to make the unit that's going to best answer theirs without breaking the bank. And then I see the 2 Mohawks and I decide, okay, I'm going to make a Talon. And then I immediately switch to kill these missile troopers that are going to the top pad because I don't really want my Talon to take very much damage. It's probably my most important unit right now. And we're trying to preserve as much money as we can because we can't ion anymore. So we have to win by our unit advantage. So I'm going to start making pit bulls here. I should be making more, seeing the 2 rhinos here. And I'm going to stall the missiles best I can. I know he's not going to be able to take out this Talon on the top pad. And I foolishly send my missile troopers to the bottom pad, which is a mistake. So I just do a dipsy madoozle here and switch my pit bull and my missiles so I can contest the bottom pad with the drones on them. And I know my Talon's going to hold against this rhino on the top pad without any worries. Apparently he spent too much money on those Mohawks, so he ultimately fell behind. So again, same setup, boys. We're going the double dogs. We scout the Borka. So this is a common strategy you'll run into here. You want to trigger the Borka, and then you want to use a pit bull or 2 pit bulls to chase it down if they overcommit with it. And you want to do as much damage to this Borka as you can. Usually the Borka strategy revolves around pushing you back into your base so they can set up a forward MG and you can't really defend against it. So to kind of counter this, just let them charge the missile and you're going to ion the MG when it's time. I've already lost this guy, so I knew what to expect here. So I just wait until the missile's about to fire, then I ion right on the pad to make sure that there's no way he can maintain control of it. And then I move my rifles and my dogs forward and I just rotate all my units. Just keep rotating the units. Very important to keep rotating your units to make sure the missile's not going to fire. So I'm ensuring that the missile stalls here so that the appropriate unit can get to where it needs to go, because I'm already way ahead of him. He spent 250 on his air units and then he spent at least 100 on his infantry. So he's 350 down. There's no way he can come back from that. So we're going to see the same guy here. I know what he's going to do. And this is more what I was talking about here. So you want to trigger the Borka. He takes some collateral damage here. I accidentally run in too early with my dogs and lose them, but it's not a big deal. They're just dogs. And we can just build more and more dogs. So I'm thinking here that I just want to chip down his units maybe, or I want to keep him back. This is the most important thing you can do against a Borka player, is you want to keep him back and maybe even bait him into coming in. He came in a little bit too early here with his Borka. So I just kite him away with my pit bulls. He takes a lot of collateral damage here. And I see him flying over his entire units here. So I just ion it. Get the biggest value you can possibly get from an ion. Look at that. Crazy. and the game was just won right there. Like I said, 250 on the helipad alone. So he's not, if he loses his air units, he's just out of the game. So this is the setup you're going to want for this map. You've got 2 dogs and your MG flanked by the rocks, and you got your missiles behind to support. So I see the snipers coming up here. I figured the highest priority target is the missiles. I sent a dog after the snipers and to zone them off a little bit more. Send my dogs after his snipers. Thought I was targeting my MG here. Wanted to kind of nuke down his snipers, but he just double teams my MG. It's fine though. He traded 100 for 30. And even though he hasn't lost his snipers yet, when they're down to 1 model, they're just not as valuable. So now he's traded 100 for 60, which is pretty good. But you have to keep in mind here, I have 200 Tiberium, I have a bunch of dogs, and he has a bunch of immobile units. So all we need to do here is we need to keep him back on his side of the map. We can't allow him to push forward because we're going to lose if he does. But as long as I keep him back, there's no way he can come into this game. He should have moved his dog here forward. And I'm going to ion here because the missile's about to fire. I'm going to get all of his units, and we're going to take this. He was a little bit too slow there. So this matchup is going to work a little bit differently. When you see Solomon as your opponent's commander and you're using Solomon, it's going to come down to a value matchup, who can extract the most value from the game, and who's less reliant on repositioning and resetting up. So basically you want to stay cheap. You want to try and trade as well as you can by supporting your MG. So same setup as normal. And then you want to get the ion to flip the missile at the end right before the missile fires. You just want to keep control of his middle pads and not allow him to push forward. So we need to aggressively use our dogs to block and keep our units kind of rotating over and over and over. A little bit slow here. I'm trying to get the exact perfect block setup. Decided to make a rifle to kind of enhance my thing. I knew he was going to ion there. So we just double ion trade. And I'm actually a little bit panicky here, but I know with the dogs that I can kind of come back and just I can come back with the dogs and hold these shocks for long enough, as long as he doesn't block me off the pads. So I just need to make sure to get onto the pads and then block him, because there's no way he's going to be able to get past my dogs on the back pad with his shocks. So pretty easy win there. I just go back and forth and make sure he doesn't get on it. Okay, so this was one of my losses. I went through a lot of games, boys, and at first I was kind of trying to do this MSV build, and I tried Shatterer early on, and it just wasn't working out. We'll view that in a moment, but we go up against Blade. I knew it was going to be real, and of course the dirtbag uses some scavengers after saying it's cheating for 1 billion years. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I didn't really know what to do here, because typically you're going to want the Shatterer against the scavengers to weaken them and soften them up. But you're also not going to want the Shatterer because of this shade. So it's really a lose-lose. And this is kind of why I ultimately moved away from the MSV, is it's really hard to get it to do anything. Like, if you don't know what they're going to build, you're kind of on the back foot. So you're taking a gamble every game, and you're trying to like make the exact right unit. Now some people can really make this work. I guess Bia is like really consistent with this strategy. I'm thinking here I have to kind of utilize my slingshot and my missiles to push him back, but I'm just a little bit too slow here, and it's going to cost me pretty heavily. I think the slingshot was probably the mistake, and if I were to remake this deck, I'd probably switch a slingshot for a talent or something. Paying 80 the first time and then being able to switch conveniently to 30 every time after that is just always worth. And Blade goes ahead and he surrenders to humiliate me just a little bit more on my video. So we're just gonna retire that run right there. Nothing to see here, boys. Just kidding, we love you, Blade, don't worry. So next, we're gonna go into the next game. We're going up against Clubboy. And this is kind of the game that made me think that Shatterer wasn't worth using. And it's because missiles are just so economically advantageous to use against it, that once he had his missiles in place, I was never going to be able to push out. He's got his 2 MGs out. I mean, he just plays a really greedy build here. I don't think it's terrible. I think it actually works. It works fine against, it works pretty well against my deck here, as you can see. But I don't feel like I can ever really push in, because if I approach in the middle here, his MGs and his missiles are just going to tear me apart. And I can't really use missiles to fight back because his MGs are just going to tear me apart. So I'm kind of just stuck between a rock and a hard place, just because I didn't open up Shatterer early. So this is kind of why I got off Shatterer early on. It's just you run into this curtain of missiles and you're pushed back. So yeah, we ended up getting the 10-0. yeah, so credit for the strategy goes to Natural Sky. Big props to him. He made this a lot easier. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you on the flip side. Take it easy, boys. Peace.